Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It is an honor to join you again 1 year after our first such gathering, this time to mark the 76th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau. Even if the pandemic has made it more difficult for us to meet physically, it is important that we continue to reach out to each other, that we continue to remember, that we continue to honor the memory of the millions of Jewish people murdered by the Nazis and of the many other victims of the Holocaust, one of the darkest chapters in the history of humanity. We have to find new forms of remembrance. In a few years from now, we may have no more direct witnesses to tell their first-hand account of the Shoah. The impact of the pandemic has been devastating on the most vulnerable, such as the sick and elderly, and amongst them many of the last remaining survivors of the Holocaust. Our duty is to ensure that their stories will live on. The Holocaust is a defining moment in European history. Keeping its memory alive, and not only through commemorations, but also by investing in education, research, and international cooperation, is essential to safeguard the values on which our European Union is built. And to make sure that antisemitism, racism, and hatred are never again allowed to poison and erode our European way of life. Parallel to the pandemic, we have seen a worrying rise in anti-Semitic conspiracy myths and Holocaust distortion and denial. While outright Holocaust denial is ostracized in most parts of society, distorting the Holocaust by making false comparisons or by accusing Jews or Israel of profiting from the Holocaust are unfortunately much more common. Research shows that a third of Europeans know just a little or nothing at all about the Shoah. This should alarm and mobilize us all. Teaching the facts will help to immunize our society against distortion and help those encountering it, online or offline, to speak up. Antisemitism and racism are on the rise in many parts of the European Union, unfortunately. Combating this scourge decisively and effectively must remain a priority. In the past year, we achieved a lot, in close cooperation with the German presidency of the Council. We saw many member states adopt the working definition of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance and work together on national strategies. Last December, the Council adopted an important declaration in which all member states commit to step up efforts to integrate the fight against antisemitism horizontally into all relevant policy areas. And from our side, that of the European Commission, we have already announced that this year we will be presenting the first ever European strategy on combating antisemitism to complement and support our member states' efforts. 76 years after the Shoah, the historical, symbolic, and substantive significance of this initiative cannot be overstated. Holocaust remembrance and education will be central pillars of the strategy, having tripled our budget on Holocaust remembrance for next year. Supporting and fostering Jewish life will be another key dimension. We are determined to ensure that Europe remains a place where Jews feel safe and free to practice and celebrate their religion like any other member of society. Our ultimate goal is to ensure that Jewish life continues to flourish in Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, today's event invites us to remember the life of a victim, a relative, a hero, in accordance with the Jewish tradition of lighting a personal memorial candle to keep the memory of this person alive. I would like to warmly thank the Israeli mission to the EU and NATO, the Konrad Adenaeur Stiftung, and the AJC Transatlantic Institute for letting me be part of this tradition, and for your own contribution to enriching and strengthening our collective memory of the victims of the Shoah.